Well, I left you off with the idea that Greek myth is something that we've inherited. On the screen, you see a planet. Do any of you know what planet that is? That's the planet Mars. Why is it called Mars? Well, it's the red planet. Even the Greeks could see that the planet was red. If you go outside and find Mars in the night sky, you'll be able to see that it's a red planet. Mars is the name the Romans gave to the Greek god Ares. Ares, Mars, is the same guy. It's the god of war. War is bloody, right? And so Mars is the red planet because when the Greeks saw it, it reminded them of blood, the blood of warfare. We're going to be talking about warfare, and that's going to be a major theme at the end of the course, different legends that come out of one particular Greek war. We'll get there. Sticking with astronomy for a minute, some of you will recognize this planet. This is the planet Jupiter. Why is it called Jupiter? Jupiter is the name that the Romans gave to the Greek god Zeus. Zeus is the biggest of the gods, and Jupiter is the biggest of the planets. And so they called it Jupiter, because it's the biggest of the planets. There's a bowl of cereal. Why is cereal called cereal? Actually, we'll get to that in the course. There you see the brand name Nike and the Nike swoosh. Is that what it's called? Why are Nikes called Nike? Because Nike is the Greek goddess of victory. And if you want to have victory in the athletic world, then you wear Nikes. Of course, because you would want to wear tennis shoes that are dedicated to the Greek goddess of victory if you want to win victory on the basketball court or the track field or whatever. Trust the Midas touch. We're going to talk about Midas and his touch and why they use gold there in their emblem for their tires. Ajax, stronger than dirt. Ajax is a Greek warrior. He fights in that one war, it's the Trojan War, I'll go ahead and tell you, that we're going to be focused on at the end of the course. He's the only fighter who fights the entire war that we know of by name, who doesn't need any help from the gods. All the other great heroes need help from the gods, but not Ajax because he's so big and strong. So if you're going to make a scrubbing powder which is stronger than dirt, you would go with the strongest of the Greek warriors, Ajax. Some of you recognize that as the symbol of Starbucks, the big coffee chain. That's a siren. We're going to be talking about the sirens. They show up in a story about a hero as he makes his way home from that Trojan War. Here's an absolutely hideous sculpture of George Washington. If you've taken humanities, you may know that this is an example of neoclassicism in Western culture, making reference back to ancient Greek democracy and the ancient Roman Republic as models of revolutionary movements in Western culture. Here we see George Washington in this. Oh, it's absolutely hideous. Congress paid for this. It's not the most hideous thing Congress has ever paid for, I guess. But when they received it, everybody was just kind of, oh. Somebody called it, renamed it Washington Reaching for His Clothes. That's horrid. They actually put it on the lawn of the Capitol and then planted a bunch of bushes around it so nobody could see it. It's now in the Smithsonian, where people will go and see it. But this absolutely hideous sculpture is modeled on verbal descriptions of a sculpture of Zeus, a very famous sculpture of Zeus, which has long since been destroyed. That's the model for Washington reaching for his clothes. If you're in the medical field, you're going to learn all kinds of vocabulary that go with medical things, and many of them relate back to Greek mythology. There you'll see the Achilles tendon, which is the large tendon that lies along the back of the ankle. We're going to talk about Achilles. Sing a song of suffering. That's the opening line of the Iliad. Sing the song of suffering, the suffering caused by Achilles. Achilles and his pride, and how many people will suffer because of his enormous pride. Well, we'll get to that story and that horrible horrible war story that we'll be talking about towards the end of the semester. But the Achilles tendon is because that's Achilles' weak spot, is his ankle. And, well, that's why it's called the Achilles tendon. Titanium is a metal. It's a very strong metal. It's named for the Titans. The Titans are a group of the Greek gods who are very, very strong, because titanium is very, very strong. And also, at one point, they are buried deep in the earth. And titanium requires a great deal of effort to mine from the ground. And so when it came time to give a name to this metal, the name titanium was chosen because it's, number one, very strong, and number two, very hard to get out of the ground. If you come to us from biology, you may know what heliotropes are. Sunflowers are a good example of heliotropes. A heliotrope is a plant that turns with the sun. You may know that about sunflowers. That's why they're called sunflowers, because in the morning they will rotate to where the sun is rising, and then the blooms will shift and turn and follow the sun during the day. Heliotropes are called heliotropes because Helios is the animistic god of the sun in ancient Greece. And next week, by this point next week, you'll know what that word animistic means and what it means when it refers to different gods. We'll be talking about animism. So that's some, if you come to us from psychology. Narcissism is named for Narcissus. We'll be talking about Narcissus. There's a myth about Narcissus, actually two. The Oedipus complex, there's a story about Oedipus, and you'll see why that Oedipus complex, which is the attraction a young boy has to his mother, is named for Oedipus. Arachnophobia, you know what arachnophobia is? Yeah, that's right, it's a fear of spiders. We're going to tell a story about Arachne, and you'll find out why arachnophobia is called arachnophobia. Hypnosis is named for Hypnos. He's the Greek god of sleep. That's why hypnosis is called hypnosis. Greek mythology has affected the English language in many ways. Chronology is named for a Greek god named Chronos. Tantalize is named for a Greek god, a human being, not a Greek god, a human being named Tantalus. We'll get to the Tantalus story, I think, next week. Pretty soon. The Tantalus story is one of the foundational stories in Greek mythology, so we'll get to that pretty soon. That's where we get the Greek word tantalize from. A cloth is from the Greek goddess Clothe. She weaves out a piece of cloth for everyone who is born, and the length of that cloth is how long you're going to live. We'll talk about Clothe when we get to her. Music is named for the Muses. These are Greek goddesses who inspire people to do things creatively, to write poetry, or to paint, or to sculpt, or to write music. The Greek gods show up in lots of literature. Some of you have read the Percy Jackson stories. In movies, O Brother, Where Art Thou is a retelling of the Odyssey. We'll get to the Odyssey in this course. After we talk about the Odyssey, you might go to Netflix and just watch O Brother, Where Art Thou. I know it's an old movie by now, but it step by step takes you through the Odyssey. Just recast the Odyssey in a different time and place than the original story. Well, these are some of the inheritances that Greek mythology gives to us, okay? And, well, in Western culture, there are three major sources of allusions, not illusions, but allusions, references to other things. In the music that you listen to and the books that you read, the TV shows you watch, the commercials that you watch, politician speeches, there's three main sources of literary allusions in Western culture. The number one source is the Bible. The number two source is Greek mythology. And the number three source are the works of William Shakespeare. The more you know about those three things, the more you'll pick up from the music you listen to, the books you read, the TV shows you watch, the jokes you hear, politician speeches, commercials you watch on TV, the movies that you watch. The more you know about those three things, the more you pick up about the world around you and what goes on. Some advice to you here as you take the course. One advice is to operate more out of your mythos than your logos. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you try to analyze these stories, you'll go mad, okay? It may bother some of you some of my engineering students in particular. It may bother you that sometimes there are two completely different stories about the same thing. And, well, for example, this is on the screen, you see a painting by a man named Botticelli. It's a painting entitled The Birth of Venus. Venus is the Latin name for the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the Greek goddess of sex and romance and beauty, all those kinds of things. We're going to be talking an awful lot about Aphrodite. The Romans called her Venus, the same person. Well, there are two stories about where Aphrodite comes from. The first story is that one of the Greek gods, a Greek god named Cronus, all right, we're just going to get right to it. Cronus castrates his father. His father's name is Uranus. Go ahead and laugh. We're going to be talking about Uranus quite a bit. I know. There's a 7th grade little boy inside all of us. Just go ahead and giggle and get it out of your way. Uranus. Okay. Well, Cronus castrates his father Uranus, and he takes the Uranus's testicles and he throws them into the ocean. And when the sperm from the testicles hits the water, Aphrodite is born. Do you buy it? I'm a bit skeptical. Maybe, but I'm a bit skeptical. There's a completely different story that Aphrodite is the daughter of Zeus and his wife Dione. Dione is Zeus's first wife. Later he'll marry Hera, who's the more famous of his wives. Okay, I might buy that one. Okay. But if you ask which one is true, then you're kind of missing the point. If you ask which one really happened, I'm not even sure the Greeks believed either one really happened, in the sense that you and I would say a story really happened. But there are two different ways of thinking about the role of Aphrodite, and they're both true. They're not both really true, but they both communicate a truth. And so if you get upset about whether, this detail in one story is right or wrong, you'll just go mad, okay? You'll just go crazy. So operate more out of your mythos than your logos. And then have some humility. Yeah, some of these stories are really dumb. In fact, some of these stories are just crap. But have some humility. The TV shows you like, they're crap. The clothing fashions that you like, crap. The music you listen to, it's crap. I'm not saying this because it's your music. I'm saying it because everybody's music is crap. Remember the 80s? No, you don't remember the 80s, most of you. But the 80s, how funny and stupid everything was. That's when I was in high school and college. I thought all that stuff was cool. It was all crap. In 40 years, you're going to look back and say, man, that stuff was just crap. Every once in a while, there's a good song which lasts forever. Happy Birthday is a good one. Okay. Most stuff goes away, all right? Just have some humility and understand that these stories meant something to somebody a long time ago, even if you look at them and say, what in the world? Well, they meant something to somebody a long time ago, just like the stuff that you like means something to you right now. And then use your imagination. We're going to be talking primarily about the Bronze Age, and, well, you have to use your imagination. Some things change over time. We're going to be reading a story about a king named Oedipus. If you actually read the story of Oedipus, this King Oedipus's palace is essentially a pole barn. He sleeps on a robe on the ground. It's a different world than you might picture from folktale or fantasy or Disney movies or something. So just engage your imagination. Be open to thinking about things in different ways than you might want to. And then finally, as a word of advice, enjoy yourself. Have some fun. Now, you do need to learn some things in this course. You need to learn the basic outline of the stories, And pretty soon you'll pick up on what I mean. You'll need to remember the basic details of the story, the basic outline of the stories. Um, you'll need to learn those. You will have to use just rote memory. I'm going to give you a list of what are called the Olympians, and you're going to need to learn all of the Olympians' names, what the Greeks called them, what the Romans called them, what their major symbols are, what they have, what they are in charge of, like Aphrodite's in charge of love um, and all that kind of thing. You will need to learn stuff, okay? But relax. This isn't calculus. It's not biochemistry, okay? Sometimes you get a chance to take a class where you do learn stuff, but this is not a terribly challenging class, so just sit back, enjoy yourself, okay? Every once in a while you get a class like that and take advantage of it. Look forward to every week to have a class where you just get to relax and learn stuff. Well, in the next video, I'm going to be doing some more of the boring syllabus stuff, but that's not going to take us very long, and then you'll be able to get started on the assignments for this week.